Episode 79 this week, The Last Outpost. This one, the Enterprise is chasing after a Ferangi ship because the Ferengis stole a piece of equipment from a star base that was unmanned. Why they had a base that was unmanned that had valuable equipment anyone could take, never explained in the episode. But Captain Picard's in pursuit. They finally catch up to the Ferangi ship, and despite the fact that later on we'll find out Captain Picard had a lot of experience with the Ferengis, they seem to not know anything about the Ferengis in this. The Ferengis say it was theirs for the taking because there was no one at the space station, so they claim salvage rights on it. Picard's like, that's not how that works, it's ours, give it back. And the Ferengi's like, no. But then the power on the Enterprise started draining, and they were losing power. And it took them a few minutes to realize the Ferengis were in the same situation. The Ferengis weren't causing the power drain, they were trapped in it. So Picard tries to negotiate with them. He was originally going to surrender to them, but then the Ferengi tried to surrender. So they decided to join forces, and they would beam down to this planet where they were orbiting to see what was happening. Well, the Enterprise crew beams down, and they're all spread out and separated for reasons never explained. Riker forgets he's wearing a communicator, just starts shouting for people. They quickly have Riker find Data, then they find LaForge hanging upside down, trapped in a rock by his foot. He sees the Ferengi coming. The Ferengi have their laser whips. They very seldom had the laser whips after this, but they had them here. They're laser whipping people. Then we see this Q-like alien. It wasn't a Q, but similar powers. And he was baffled by good and evil. He wanted the two sides to fight it out, see who would win. And then he would just sit back and release the winners, apparently. And Riker was like, we're Starfleet, we're good, and we won't fight. And so the guy swings this big, like, scimitar-looking thing, stops it just short of hitting Riker, who doesn't even flinch. He's like, well, I guess you're right, so I'll release both sides of it. You're all free to go. The Enterprise gets its part back, and it's on its happy way. Some interesting notes in this one. It was Armin Shimmerman's first time as a Ferengi. Of course, he went on to be Quark in Deep Space 9 years later, but he was one of the first Ferengi. And the Ferengi initially were supposed to be the main villains in Star Trek The Next Generation. They were going to be the TNG equivalent of the Klingons, but then the producers realized that they were not too threatening because they were smaller than most of the humans and more comedic than anything, so they did an about-face and changed a whole lot of the aspects of the Ferengis. They were not the central villain figures after a couple more episodes went by. So that's what was going on with that. Pretty much episode 79.